Good morning, Santiago. You got to smile when you start these presentations. It's an exciting and great day, but we talk about technology and people's heads start going like this. It's not because you don't love it. It's because nobody is meant to sit for too long. Now, I got to share just a little bit of a story with you before I jump into my topic today. You guys may not know this, but I share with you a sacred bond for the country of Chile. From the time I was this big, my favorite sport was soccer, football, as you guys call it here. And my favorite footballer to this very day happens to come from your native Chile. Does anybody want to take a guess at who my favorite footballer may be? Now, before I share this with you, I had the opportunity to come to Chile this weekend, and it was very timely because I was watching my favorite footballer play against Liverpool this last weekend. And supposedly he was in the lineup, but I did not see him on the field. But my favorite player of all time is the amazing Alexis Sanchez. But my favorite club, Arsenal, I know, I'm sorry. It hurts for me too. Unfortunately, I'm very sad because I may have seen him play for the very last time in an Arsenal jersey. But when I came to Chile the last time, this is my second time here, I did bring home a beautiful little number 7 jersey for my daughter, who's also a huge football fan, that says Alexis. She has the Arsenal jersey that says Alexis, and we share a very, very close bond with your beautiful country, Santiago, Chile. So thank you so much for having me here today. But that's not the only reason I'm excited. Now that I have come to find that Alexis is indeed in London and not in Chile, and he was on the field, he just played terribly, I wanted to come here today and talk to you about something very, very exciting. This last weekend, I penned the final pages to my next book, Future Proof. And although the official launch of Future Proof will take place in about 2 weeks at HP's World Partner Forum, you, the crowd here at Adexus, will be the very first to hear a little bit more about what we put inside Future Proof. Future Proof is not my first book, though. In fact, it's my 6th. So I've spent a decent amount of time behind the computer writing these books, and it comes about 18 months after the last book in my series called Building Dragons. And you see up here a dragon and a unicorn. And Building Dragons started out of this concept, started out of this conversation I was having with Olivier Blanchard, who wrote the book with me. And we were talking about this concept of the unicorn, okay? Companies like Uber, companies like Facebook, companies like Airbnb, companies who reached billion-dollar valuations before they'd sold anything. And we said, these companies are amazing, they're exciting, they're inspirational to so many people. But how many people in this room believe their business is the next Facebook? You see the hands? Most companies aren't unicorns. And we wanted to set out to talk about what most companies are. And we decided to coin the phrase dragons. And the idea of a dragon is that the dragon is the company that everybody in this room can become. A dragon is a company that focuses on growth. They focus on profit. They focus on revenue. They focus on being able to be successful no matter what the conditions of the market are. And every company can be a dragon. But not every company can be a unicorn. And not every company should want to be a unicorn. And that was something that really worried me as a millennial myself. And Sergio talked about these generations. I know, I may not have hair, but I am actually quite young. As a millennial myself, I worry that these unicorns have become inspirational. They've become the companies that everybody aspires to be. But it isn't realistic for so many companies to be unicorns. It's most realistic that if you do the right things, if you focus on profit, if you focus on how technology can be used to drive my business into the future, we can build great, sustainable businesses that grow, adapt, scale, and change the way they need to be successful in the era of digital transformation. And when we wrote the book, Building Dragons, we basically set out, beyond the whole concept of unicorns and dragons, we really set out to determine two things. One, what is the impact of technology on the future of work? And two, what do the world's greatest companies do differently than everybody else? And what we found, and I'll admit to a little bit of bias in number one, I really wanted to prove my hypothesis that the world's greatest companies were all using more technology and making greater technology investments than anybody else. I wanted to write a technology book because my belief 3 years ago when I set out to become more and more informed on this digital transformation was that technology was the key of it all. It was digital transformation. It was about technology. When I ended up writing Building Dragons, the first 10 chapters were about experiences, people, culture, leadership. It wasn't until the 11th chapter that we penned our first word about cloud computing. And even though cloud computing is at the core of every digital transformation, it doesn't start until those other things are deeply embedded inside of your culture. And we've come to realize that the rate of change in business is only going to get faster. And only the companies that can adapt, innovate, and disrupt are going to be able to survive and thrive in the age of digital transformation. So that brought me to what came next. So we wrote the book, Building Dragons. We reimagined what digital transformation should look like. We changed the script of making it about a technology-only conversation to a people and technology conversation. But I realized about a year after we wrote the book that we didn't quite get to number two, which was what are the world's best companies doing differently? As Sergio said in his presentation, there is a lot of theory about digital transformation. A lot of people like to use the term, they throw it around, they tell you why digital transformation is so important, but they don't really help you through practical examples, through going deep inside what these great companies are doing differently, to actually help you guys walk out of the room today and go, I want to hear some stories about companies, not just the biggest companies in the world, not just Google and not just Facebook, but I want to hear stories about companies in different industries. I want to learn, what does a company in the hotel or the retail space do differently that's helping them become successful in digital transformation? And so we realized that we have to go further. We have to write the next book. And that was where the idea of Future Proof was born. Now, show of hands, because I want everyone to stay alert. I will periodically be asking questions for the rest of this presentation. How many people have heard the term future-proof? How many people believe their business is prepared for the future? How many people, no matter how many questions I ask, will not raise their hand? So let's set a quick definition for the room, because I never want to assume that everybody understands or is using the same terminology that I am. But the way for the book purpose we defined it was to future-proof is to initiate and execute on a set of strategic initiatives that position your business to adapt to changed market forces and improve market position continuously into the future. The subtitle of the book became 7 Pillars of the Future-Proof Enterprise. Why 7? Well, it came down to there were so many different factors as we travel the world, as we talk to the world's greatest companies that we've worked with personally. Being a technology industry analyst, I speak to so many of the partners of this event are my clients and my friends. Companies like Cisco, HPE, IBM, Dell. Many of you here today are my clients back in the States and around the world. And I've had the chance to talk to you guys, not only about what you're doing with your technology to drive digital transformation, but also your own digital transformations that went on inside your own 4 walls. Companies like IBM. 20 years ago, what would you have called IBM? They were a hardware company, right? That's what you knew them as. They sold computers, laptops, servers. What are they today? Anybody bought a laptop from IBM lately? No, they're a cloud company. They're one of the leading AI companies in the world. What about Amazon? Another company. It's evolved greatly, right? Amazon was a book reseller. You bought books from Amazon. That was it. What is Amazon today? You can buy anything on Amazon. Anything you want, but they're also one of the largest public cloud providers in the world. Oh, and by the way, they are the world's leading provider of AI-empowered speakers that are changing the way we live our lives and the way we communicate in our homes. So it boiled down to 7 things, 7 principles, or as we finally agreed upon to call them, 7 pillars. And I'll introduce them to you quickly, and then we'll talk about all of them. Experience, people, change, innovation, leadership, technology, and culture. It is these 7 things that the world's greatest companies understand and execute upon in successfully achieving their digital transformation. And I want to start off with one that's very important to me: experiences. How many people think as they arrive at an airport, as they sit in a coffee shop, about all the technology going on around them that is enabling their experience? When they walk into this Starbucks coffee and they open up their app and they're able to buy coffee, it accrues points, it understands loyalty, it learns more about what your favorite products and services are you thinking about the technology? No. The answer is no. You're not thinking about the technology. And companies today that are winning in digital transformation understand the importance of experiences. And companies that have continued to win have understood the importance of experiences for a very, very long time. Now, I want to share a couple examples with you. The first one is one you hear a lot more about. The second one you may hear a little bit less about. But how many people have been to a Disney theme park? Now, you hear all about the Magic Band, and you probably have heard that dozens of times in presentations. And I'm going to share a little different story with you today. I want to share the story of how Disney creates experiences that are magical for people by paying attention to little things. Did you know that the moniker of the employee at Disney entails 2 things? 1, create magic. 2, pick up the trash. I know. Garbage. How is garbage part of the employee's main objective in their daily business? But I want you to think about something. When you walk around a beautiful hotel like the W, and you see stuff littered all over the floor, when you see things not clean and not well kept, what kind of experience does that create for you? Disney, long before big data, long before technology, sensors, IoT, and camera could be utilized to best understand behavior, they wanted to make their theme parks the cleanest and most magical experience in the world. Guess what they did? They took their employees and they had them stand in the park to watch people's behavior with little notepads. Now think of how much big data and technology can make this better today. And they stood there with little notepads because what they wanted to understand was if we are going to continue to raise our prices, make great profits, and create magical experiences for people, we better have the cleanest and neatest theme park in the world. So they had their people stand near the concession stands because they wanted to understand what would be the maximum distance that somebody would walk from the time they bought their hamburger and their French fries at a concession stand to the time they would give up on throwing it away in the trash bin and they would litter it onto the ground. So they put people all over the park, and for days and weeks they measured this. And at the end of those days and weeks, what they found was it was about 25 and a half steps people would take. So, 23, 24, 25, they look up. I do not see a garbage can. Set their garbage on the ground. But what kind of experience is it for someone who spends hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for a single day in a theme park to walk around and have litter and garbage all over your feet? This was the early days, but Disney from the very beginning understood experiences. Not just how to use the modern, the IoT and the AI and the Magic Band, which is personalized and completely reimagined the way a theme park experience could look. They've done it today. But this has always been deeply embedded inside of who Disney is. Now, AT&T, a cable, phone, internet provider, nobody likes their cable company. And most people don't really like their phone company. It's not fun. It's just not. The bills, the taxes, the fees, nobody understands it. And AT&T knew they had a problem with that. They knew they needed to rethink experiences. They needed to make their customers feel more closely connected to their brand. So what if you could use your mobile phone to also manage your life, your security, your safety, and be closer to your family? And AT&T decided to invest in app development, invest in a program they called Digital Life. So right through your phone, you had the ability to arm and program your system. They reduced the friction of having numerous service providers and basically allowed for you to have more services available to you through them, through a single application that could control and manage your home and make something like simple home automation available to everybody. A technology that used to be very expensive and available only to the few. Suddenly, you were watching the doors, you were controlling access to your home, and you were doing it in a simple app from one company that you were already doing business with. AT&T, much like Disney, reimagined experience, thought about how can we make our customers happier? How can we use experience to drive digital transformation? And they did, and they won. And they made more of their customers feel closer to their brand, even though as a cable and internet provider, oftentimes you have a very, very big distance between you and your customers. And the thing that everyone needs to remember is that the experience economy, that experiences aren't a thing for the future. Experiences are a thing for today. Adobe did a study on this, and they actually found that 9 out of 10 businesses proclaim that they will be using experience as their core differentiator. And I ask you this question, and do not answer it out loud all at once. In fact, don't answer it at all, but think about it in your mind. How many of your businesses can truly say you create an experience that is different, that is memorable, and that separates you from your competition today? Because 9 out of 10 businesses say they are, but most businesses I ask can't tell me what that experience is. Now let's talk a little bit about people. All this tech, all this measurement, the IoT, mobile devices, everything we do, right? Every click, every like, every one of these experiences that we're using the data and the analytics for, behind it is a person. And the world's greatest companies understand better than anything else that people first, people-led digital transformation programs, when coupled with technology, will be the most successful. And I have a few examples in mind, but I want to share about a company called Nordstrom. Do you guys have Nordstrom here in Chile? Okay. That's okay. Nordstrom is a high-end retailer, okay? And Nordstrom, for the longest time, has understood the importance of people. Their salespeople are some of the best paid in the retail industry. Some of their sales professionals make $100,000 per year as retail sales associates. They pay generous commissions to their people. They have benefits. They have more full-time employees than most any other retailers on the planet. And their company, while the entire retail industry is struggling, has continued to stay ahead of the curve in terms of performance against the marketplace. Now, the people part alone is just a piece of it. Not only do they pay their people well and take care of them, but they also teach them important values about customer relationship management. They teach them little things such as after someone makes a purchase, rather than just throwing the bag across the counter at them, they walk the bag just around the outside and hand it to the person and say, "Thank you very much for shopping at Nordstrom." And this sounds little, but the people tied to the experiences understand that it's the aggregate of all of these little things that matter. You ask someone in a Nordstrom store where the bathroom is, and they don't go, "Hey, it's over there." And then you walk over there and you're like, where? I don't know. I can't find it. And then you have to ask someone else. You walk, and they walk side by side with you all the way till you arrive there. And they say, "Sir, here's the washroom." And I know, it's a little thing, but these people love what they do. They're paid well. They care. And that reflects in the way they take care of their customers. Now, layer in technology. Nordstrom, just these past few years, has added mobile apps to their business. They've added e-commerce. In their mobile app, they've built loyalty programs. They've tied together free shipping. They've even used machine learning and technology inside of their applications where you can take a picture of this beautiful black sweater vest and say, "I want a sweater vest just like he wore today." All of you take pictures now. And then you can paste the picture online and it will find you items just like this beautiful black sweater vest, and it will help you improve your shopping experience. People who love what they do, they're paid well, a company that cares about them, coupled with utilization of new technologies, e-commerce, IoT, machine learning. This is a combination that helps create digital transformation. Now, the third pillar is change. And you may say every one of these pillars involves change. But earlier I mentioned to you a few examples. I talked to you about IBM moving from a hardware company to a cloud and AI company, about Amazon changing from a book reseller to a retailer that sells everything, to the public cloud company. You've heard about Netflix, right? Netflix was a company that started out shipping DVDs. They have changed immensely. They are now a content company. The greatest companies in the world all understand change. They understand they must be agile, they must be adaptable, and they must continuously drive change in their organization. But there is a challenge for driving change in your organization. People don't like change. You say you like change. You talk about change. You get on stage and we throw out words like adaptable and agile. But then at home, we're asked to make a small change in an ingredient in our favorite meal, and we fight with our spouse like cats and dogs because we don't really like change. And I always say this, but the only thing that people like less than change is when everything stays the same. So we only like this much change. We're only comfortable with a little bit of change. But in the world, in an era of digital transformation, change is happening so fast, we have to start to love and embrace change in our businesses. And I want to talk about a couple of companies that have really done change well in a couple of industries. And again, these may not be companies you know, but that's the beauty of this presentation. That is the beauty of me being here today with you, sharing some of the experiences I have, is that digital transformation isn't just for the big companies that everybody uses in every one of their presentations. It is for many, many companies. Ally Bank in America shut down all of its retail branches. What? A bank with no branches? I know, it seems crazy. But they realized that they were not going to be able to compete in the future using the same traditional retail model that banking has used for so many centuries. They had to do something different. So they went to this mobile-first strategy where they focused almost entirely on how their mobile app enables the future of business. They've even created, using blockchain and cryptocurrency type technologies, the ability that people can no longer carry an ID with them, but could still go to an ATM and still get money out of it. Now, these commercials have gone on throughout the United States, but this is really important. You know, they show a guy out going for a jog, you know, and then he's on his way home and he needs a bottle of water. And he's got his phone, but guess what he doesn't have? His wallet, right? Because we don't always have our wallets on us anymore, but we always have our phone. You can't walk into most places without ID and make a purchase. You can't go to the ATM and get money. Ally Bank said, we have a new idea. We can use technology, we can use blockchain, and we can enable people. But not only is it a change with technology, it's an entire philosophical change in how companies do business. Barton Memorial Hospital, a small hospital in California, was struggling. Their doctors weren't staying. They were leaving. The nurses, their customers weren't happy. You know what they did? They hired the Disney Institute. Now, why would a hospital bring in the Disney Institute? Number one, experiences. Disney looked at Barton's entire model of creating experiences. And essentially, they reinvented the way they delivered patient care, the way they hired, and the way they used technology in their business. Retention went up, customer satisfaction went up. The results were good. And Target, 2013, they had one of the largest security breaches in the world. Did you guys hear about that down here? Millions of identities were stolen. Their brand was in shambles. They brought in defense contractors to help them change the way they did their business. Completely not only fix their security leaks, but also utilize all the new technologies that are available to make sure that not only were they a company that was safe and secure for their customers and their data, but also that they were a mobile and modern company. And in just a period of 5 years, Target went from a company that was foreseen in the marketplace as being 10 years behind the curve to a company that was considered a digital leader. And perhaps one of the most important things to consider when it comes to change is getting out of the mode of transformation in a panic mode. Transformation needs to be constant. It needs to be a part of your business's DNA. It cannot be something that, oh my gosh, we're behind, chaos, let's catch up. And in the examples of change that I just gave you, a lot of those rooted in chaos. So the question moving forward for those businesses is, will they continue to change? Or will they allow that chaos to continue? Continuous change creates predictability. That predictability allows businesses to more successfully digitally transform. But it requires a new model of leadership, which brings me to the fourth pillar, innovation. I know, you thought I was going to say leadership, but before I talk about leadership, and I will in just a moment, I want to talk a little bit about innovation. Innovation is one of those interesting things because if I asked 20 of you what you define innovation as, you would probably give me 20 different definitions. Everybody sees innovation a little bit differently, whether it's micro innovation, macro innovation, iteration, or whether it's truly disruptive. We hear about it every day, but not every innovation is disruptive, and not every little improvement, continuous improvement, is truly innovation. But I want to give you guys an example of an innovation ecosystem. Dassault Systems, a French company. They are the type of business that truly understands what innovation is and how utilizing technology like 3D can inspire innovation inside of your business. Any bicyclists in the room? So you've probably heard of Trek cycles. Trek had this challenge with their bicycle manufacturing. Trek built carbon bikes, and it was very expensive to build prototypes of their bikes. And the users of their bikes who were spending thousands of dollars on a bike had certain expectations of how a bike would perform. Well, their innovation cycles had grown longer and longer and longer because the prototyping cycle was too difficult. What if we utilized 3D visualization instead of building prototypes to figure out how these bikes would work and function under intense environments? And guess what they did? They just that. They partnered with Dassault. They were able to build prototypes in a virtual environment, test them in the most rugged conditions, and build a product in less time, with better quality, and less cost. And the examples of this are used in many industries. I share with you here BMW for crash testing, Nabesco for windmills, building giant windmills. They said, isn't that an expensive thing to design and prototype? What if we could do it in a virtual environment? And the list goes on. But this is innovation. This is what innovation can be, is shortening the cycle of a new idea and getting it into the marketplace. And this brings me to a slogan that's very important in the age of digital transformation, and that is, we need to fail fast to succeed sooner. And fail fast is not just a buzz. Fail fast is an idea that helps companies innovate in shorter periods of time. There's a company called IDEO. They worked with a toy company. IDEO is an innovation lab. They worked with a toy company, and the challenge is this toy company used closed innovation labs, okay? And they were taking a very long time to get products into the marketplace. Well, guess what IDEO said? IDEO said, let's come up with as many ideas as we can. We'll test them, prototype them, get them into market, determine which ones work, and we will only build the products that we can prove will be a success. 2,000 ideas from this toy manufacturer. 37 ideas that were valid. Now, if you don't have an innovation process, and you have a certain person in your company or a small group of people that you depend upon for your innovation, you could have easily picked any one of those 2,000 and picked the wrong thing, the wrong product, too slow to market, and each one of those tests would have taken you too long before you would have gotten to the right product. Huge costs and risks in not thinking about how innovation needs to work inside of your organization. But if you remember what I said at the beginning, innovation is not one size fits all for any organization. Every organization has a different innovation cycle. A lot of what I just shared with you had to do with companies who build products, physical products. If you're selling services, the way you innovate may need to be different. But you need to consider that innovation for your company may happen in a secret lab, it may be an open innovation system, and it may come down to how you manage your innovation ecosystem. But the thing to remember is that new technologies are going to change the needs of your customer faster than ever before. And innovation inside of your organization is the enabler for you to keep up on those experiences that your customers are requiring. In 2001, the CEO of Southwestern Airlines had a challenge. 9/11 had taken place in America, and airlines were in deep trouble. They were cutting employees faster than ever before. But the CEO of Southwest said no. At that time, decided to fire or let go 0 employees. A bold and risky leadership decision. But in the digital transformation, bold and risky is the only way you will succeed. We found that the leaders of great companies today are approaching digital transformation with a two-prong. It's a balance. People, technology, or as we like to say, humanity and risk-taking. Great leaders put their people first, but they have a healthy balance of people first, people-led, but risk-taking and rule-breaking. And when I say rule-breaking, I don't mean breaking laws. I mean breaking the rules of what's normal and what's okay inside of corporations. When Satya Nadella for Microsoft took over the company, he had taken over a company that had been a darling of Wall Street, but a company that had essentially missed every technological trend that had taken place in the past 15 years. They were behind or they were a laggard. Mobile, big data, you name it. They weren't a player. To boldly go. Not to boldly go where no one has gone before, but we believe the new model of leadership is to boldly balance humanity and risk-taking as you drive digital transformation inside your organization. And it is critical that the CEO of your company be the #1 champion of digital transformation. I know we heard all about the CDO, but I will tell you emphatically that my research and my conversations show if the CEO does not buy in, you will not succeed in your digital transformation. The CEO hires the CDO. The CEO hires the CIO. The CEO hires the CMO. And guess what? If the CEO is not buying into the rapid requirement of change, guess who else isn't going to buy in? Guess who else will be cut from the same mold as that CEO, that CDO, that CIO, that CMO? It starts at the top. Doesn't mean you can't have someone appointed, but the world's greatest companies have digital transformation champions in the office of the CEO. And they all understand that digital transformation starts with people, and without leadership, your digital transformation will fail. Now, I want to talk just for a minute about technology, and I could go on. And you go, well, why is technology the 6th pillar? But if you listen to my presentation, every example that I've given you has been rooted in digital transformation. Disney's experiences, the Magic Band, the use of big data. When I talked about Nordstrom, the development of applications, the utilization of AI. When we talked about change, when we talked about the hospital, when we talked about Target, all those companies utilizing technology, utilizing so many different technologies in their transformation. It's a part of it. It's the underpinnings of their entire digital transformation success. But it's only one of the 7 pillars. But we believe that these are the wave: mobility, IoT, machine learning, AI, big data, AR, VR, automation. But we also believe what's next isn't another list of technologies. It's a new thinking about technology. It's thinking, how do all those technologies we just gave you enhance capability and capacity? How do these new tools enable the future of work? How is automation in the future of jobs going to be impacted by a human-machine partnership? And how will we secure people's data, secure people's privacy in a world where people are more open to using new technology than ever before, but more scared of the repercussions? And of course, don't forget outside threats. And I say this because Blockbuster didn't see Netflix coming. BlackBerry had no idea that a company like Apple was going to come and eat their lunch. They never saw it coming. They weren't using technologies that weren't available. So it's not just about what's next and what's disruptive, it's also about how it's being used. And the companies that use the technologies best often become the companies that are most disruptive. And I want to talk about the last trend, and I'm coming to the end of the time here, and I'm really enjoying this conversation with you guys, but it's culture. And this is the most important pillar. Without the right culture, I assure you, your digital transformation will fail. And you look at companies like Uber and Lyft right now. You look at companies like Southwest and United. Everywhere in the world you heard the bad PR about United. You fly on the airlines, you show up at the gates, the happiness, the people you talk to, their culture transcends their entire organization, and it affects their ability to successfully deploy new technology, build their business, and grow their market share. And you see Starbucks versus Starbucks, and you go, what is that? How does that make sense? Well, Starbucks has stores they own, and Starbucks has locations that they license. And the experience inside of their own stores and the way they've utilized technology to create amazing experiences in their stores versus the way their licensees use technology is completely different and has created a culture that is not consistent enough. If Starbucks could streamline that, they could drive greater business success. And there's 12 dimensions of culture. And my last point about culture is that it is at the very center of your digital transformation. If you start with culture, you can put all the other pieces together and drive digital transformation, technology adoption, and growth inside of your organization. So I'll give it to you one last time. It's people, change, leadership, culture in the center, and then it's innovation, technology, and experiences. So if you look at culture and above, it's people and leadership. If you look at culture and below, it's digital and technology. And I want to end here with just a little discussions about a tale of two types of CEOs and two types of cultures. The companies that are future-proof, the companies like Amazon, the companies like Salesforce, Tesla, Microsoft, Lyft, Netflix. If you look at their cultures, if you talk through their cultures, you will realize that every one of these companies is doing many of these 7 pillars correctly. They have strong cultures that believe in the utilization of technology, that understand customer value, that appreciate experiences. And if you look at these companies I call future-proof, these are the companies that are at risk. The Sears. You look at Twitter, and I love Twitter. You look at Yahoo. You look at Uber right now, who's in disarray. It's one of the most profound stories of disruption on the planet, and the company has never made a penny. They try. I could be CEO and lose $1 billion a quarter. Everyone in this room can do that. Their culture isn't quite right, and it's cost them. It's been catastrophic to their business success. Now, I want to make one last point before I leave you here today, and it's not about Alexis Sanchez. No company is necessarily doing all 7 of these pillars well. And you need to think about that. The great companies that I talked about today are probably all doing 2, 3, maybe 4 of those pillars really well. And so the key to transformation in your business is to figure out what are the 2 or 3 pillars that your business does very well, whether it's experiences, driving change, great leadership. And what are the experiences and what are the things that your company can improve upon? So it's taking the good and making it great, and it's taking the rest and making it better. Because if you invest in the growth, in scale, in adaptability, and change, your business has the potential to become a dragon. And you can become ready for whatever lies ahead, or as we like to call it, be future-proof. Thank you all very much for the opportunity to come here to Chile today.
Thanks to you, Daniel.